Hello children! You have already learned that the earth was formed about 4.8 billion years ago and the first form of life appeared only about 3.8 billion years ago. I am Bindu. Let us recall the previous part of this chapter, evolution of life, and go to the next part. Louis Pasteur conducted the famous swan-necked flask experiments and proved that all forms of life arise only from pre-existing life. The theory of chemical evolution was proposed by Oparin and Haldane independently. The aggregates of large molecules formed large-sized particles due to the force acting between their molecules and have been called coeservates. The coeservates exhibited the basic properties of life such as metabolism, growth and reproduction. The coeservates become established into the first living systems which have been named protobionts. The primitive cells that resulted from chemical evolution gradually gave rise to organisms such as bacteria, algae, fungi and protozoans. Living organisms have undergone changes from single-celled forms to the many-celled forms. Learning outcomes. After studying this topic, you will be able to know about, analyze the importance of organic evolution, understand the theories on organic evolution. Keywords: organic evolution, landmarkism, natural selection, Darwinism, variations, mutations. Let's have a look at the concept of evolution here. Organic evolution. The primitive cells that resulted from chemical evolution gradually gave rise to organisms such as bacteria, algae, fungi and protozoans. These organisms in turn gave rise to a variety of life forms that are existing today on the earth. This was possible due to the slow and gradual process by which living organisms have undergone changes from single-celled forms to many-celled forms of life. This slow and gradual process of change is known as organic evolution. The process is the result of innumerable modifications that the organisms have developed under the influence of their environment. These changes have been passed on from generation to generation bringing about the formation of new varieties within and across species. The occurrence of evolution is supported by innumerable direct and indirect evidence that we can gather from organisms of the past and present. The mechanism of organic evolution has been explained by ideas put forth by scientists from time to time. These ideas came to be known as theories in organic evolution. Following are some of the theories that try to explain the mechanism of organic evolution. Landmarkism. One of the earliest ideas on organic evolution was proposed by a French zoologist by the name of Jean-Baptiste Lamarck. In 1809, he proposed a theory which came to be popularly known as the theory of inheritance of acquired characters. It is also described as Landmarkism. The theory is based on three main ideas: new needs, use and disuse of organs, and inheritance of acquired characters. The environment is highly unstable and is subject to frequent changes. Lamarck believed that such changes create new needs in organisms. If the organisms fail to make necessary changes favorably, they cannot survive. The appearance of new needs forces the organism to put in additional effort to fulfill the needs. It may put a particular part of its body into more and more frequent use. Similarly, It may also be necessary for the organism to put a part of its body into less use or may not use it all. This idea came to be known as the use and disuse of organs. Any part of the body that is more and more used is likely to grow larger and become better and stronger. In the same way, any part of the body which is less frequently used tends to become less prominent and may even ultimately disappear. Thus, by differential overuse and disuse of various body parts, an organism would change to some extent and acquire new characteristics. Landmark believed that such characteristics acquired by an organism get transmitted to future generations. In every generation, fresh characters are acquired. As a result, after many generations, the changes accumulate and the species become modified into a new one. Landmark's ideas on evolution may be explained by citing a few examples from his writings. The example of the giraffe is cited in the support of the idea of overuse of body parts. Among mammals, you know that giraffe is peculiar in having a long neck and longer forelimbs. Landmark suggested that the ancestors of giraffes were as small as deer. The availability of grass and other small plants was depleting. This was due to severe competition from other herbivores and rots. Landmark suggested that giraffes started stretching their neck and forelimbs to reach the leaves of taller plants. This continued for several generations, and as a result, the neck became longer as also the forelimbs. The absence of limbs in snakes was interpreted by Landmark as an evolutionary change. He suggested that ancestors of snakes had 4 well-developed limbs. Snakes were hunted by a more advanced group of animals such as birds and mammals. In order to survive, they started crawling on the ground and spent most of their time hiding in crevices and holes. Thus, they started disusing their limbs. This resulted in the limbs becoming degenerate and ultimately disappearing. The limbless condition was passed on to subsequent generations. Lamarck's ideas had some drawbacks. His theory cannot explain how body cells pass on the acquired characteristics to reproductive cells. Experiments have shown that acquired characters are not inherited and inherited characters are not acquired. Darwinism. Charles Darwin proposed a theory in 1859 to explain the possible mechanism of evolution. This theory came to be known as the theory of natural selection. It is more popularly known as Darwinism. This theory is based on the following principles. Darwin found an interesting feature in all organisms. All organisms have a natural capacity to produce a large number of young ones. He called this capacity overproduction. Darwin gave many examples to support this idea. Elephants are the slowest reproducing animals. In a lifespan of about 90 years, a pair of elephants may produce a maximum of 6 young ones. Darwin calculated that if all the 6 young ones survive, grow, and reproduce at the same rate, there would be 19 million elephants in just about 750 years. In spite of such an enormous rate of reproduction, the number of individuals in each species remains nearly constant over long periods of time. Darwin reasoned that as a result of a high rate of reproduction, there must be competition between individuals. It is for sharing food, water, living space, and other resources. This competition was described by Darwin as a struggle for existence. He found that generally the young ones of an organism show difference compared to the parent. He described the differences as variations. They are the rule of nature. They help an organism to adjust better to the environment. Darwin believed that nature selects only those organisms which have favorable variations. They continue to produce young ones with these variations. This provides advantages to such organisms. Darwin described this process as natural selection. Darwin presumed that only those organisms which have developed advantageous variations have a better chance of survival. The less adapted and the not adapted organisms get eliminated. This idea came to be known as survival of the fittest. Thus, new species develop from the existing ones slowly and gradually. Darwin believed that while variations are the raw materials for evolution, natural selection is the operating force. However, Darwin failed to recognize the source of variations in the organisms. Hence goes the common saying, Darwin explained the survival of fittest but not their arrival. He had no idea of the mechanism of inheritance. Victor Hugo de Vries in 1902 proposed the idea that variations are brought about by sudden changes to the genetic makeup of an organism. Such changes are called mutations. The modern theory of organic evolution is the synthesis of ideas from the theory of natural selection and the mutation theory. These theories have been examined in the light of present knowledge on how mutations occur. It is known as Neo-Darwinism.